Tight security presence as APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu flags off presidential campaign rally in Plateau State. Properties worth a fortune destroyed at Kantunkwari Market in Kano. World population hits 8 billion as experts demand workable plans for population growth. And on the foreign scene, 5 cases of COVID-19 discovered in Congo refugee camp. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. The official flag-off of the All Progressive Congress presidential campaign is underway in Jos, the Plateau State capital, with the arrival of President Muhammadu Buhari. The event is taking place at the Rangpam Township Stadium. Shortly before the president's arrival, the presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate Kashim Shettima and their wives are already seated. Some sitting governors, including Abubakar Badaru of Jigawa State, Kaduna State Governor Malan Nasiru El-Rufai, among other dignitaries, are also present. Security has since been beefed up to avoid a breakdown of law and order. And to Ekiti State now, where Gboyega Aribishogun, representing Ikole 1 constituency, has emerged the new Speaker of the Ekiti State House of Assembly. Aribishogun, who is a 2-term lawmaker, was elected at plenary on Tuesday, having polled 15 votes to defeat Olubumi Adelugba, who got 10 votes. He was sworn in as Speaker by the Clerk of the House, Tola Eshon, following his victory at the election. After being sworn in, the new Speaker expressed gratitude to his colleagues for the confidence reposed in him and pledged to discharge his duties to the best of his ability and protect the Constitution of the country and standing rules of the House of Assembly. The new Speaker succeeds Fumini Afui, who died suddenly on October 19th after suffering cardiac arrest. And with political parties and candidates gearing up for the 2023 general elections in Nigeria, a section of Benue youth say the youth population should be blamed if the country fails to get it right this time. Jimmy Azande, who spoke to some of the youth in Makurdi, reports that they want a change of guard from the old order in the next election. The report.
As political activities inundated the atmosphere in the country, youths in Benue are hoping to change the usual narrative of electionary outcome in 2023. They spoke on how some selfish politicians use youths as political thugs in communities to destabilize smooth and peaceful conduct of elections.
Let us not be deceived. Let us not be myopic. Let's look ahead. We are being bought over. Sometimes these people come to us, they give us a little amount of money, sometimes as little as 1,000, and we do sell our vote to them. That is wrong. I want to strongly advise the youths of Nigeria against this act.
They said youths must be strategic and deliberate in ensuring that they overcome the manipulation of those unpatriotic politicians who only care about themselves. They said changing the narrative can be done simply by going to the polls, exercising their franchise, by choosing the leaders they believe in.
The youths are the population of this country. We have the thugs, we have the intellect, we have everything that constitutes the strength of this country. So the moment we decide that we are tired of our sufferings and then we step up for our responsibilities, nobody can stop that. So the youth should discover their roles, and they should not only discover it, but should work towards making sure that those roles are effected.
Not be deceived by the mere currencies that they will be given by politicians, but they should walk up to what is right, grab their PVCs, and then make their vote count in making the change for a better Nigeria.
The youth, especially the females, are called upon to correct the mistakes of the past.
Yes, my fellow gender have a voice. They have a vital role to play concerning the 2023 election. I want to urge them out to come out and exercise their franchise. They shouldn't just relegate themselves to a particular background. Like the issue of ladies being in the kitchen alone, they should come out, get their PVC and vote. It's their right to vote. And also, the change we're talking about begins with them.
With renewed political education and human rights consciousness, it is left to be seen if the 2023 elections will produce the results expected. Despite tough times and high cost of living, The lecturers have hope and wish the change in 2023 will bring their smiles back.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU UNILAG chapter is currently holding its one-day protest over the payment of half salaries to its members in the month of October. The lecturers are walking alongside some students from the Julius Berger Auditorium to the main gate, where they will then be addressed by the leadership of the union in the institution. The action is organized at branch levels of ASUU nationwide, and each branch of the academic union would choose their dates. Meanwhile, the Federal University Kashere chapter of the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU on Tuesday held a peaceful rally to protest the withholding of 7 months' salaries of its members by the federal government. Addressing a press conference after an emergency branch congress meeting in the institution, the chairperson of the Congress, Shehu El Rashid, accused the federal government of undermining all efforts by the union to guarantee Nigerians qualitative and affordable university education. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Although members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU have agreed to return to the classroom, they are, however, battling difficult financial challenges due to non-payment of 7 months' salaries by the federal government. This, the lecturers say, is why they converge at the Federal University of Kashere, Gombe State, for an emergency branch congress meeting to press home their demands.
The union observes that withholding members' salaries for 7 months is not only diversionary, but wickedness by the agents of the federal government to jeopardize the effort of members from pursuing legitimate demands of the union aimed at members' welfare and funding of public universities. Hence, release of withheld salary is not in the list of the union's demand, but rather an attempt by the agent of government to misinform and divert public attention from the real issues. 2. The union wishes to remind the public that the demands that led to the declaration of strike action on 14 February 2022 are failure of the federal government to implement the memorandum of action it entered with ASUU in December 2020.
El Rashid said the union is more law-abiding than the federal government as it obeyed the court ruling to suspend its strike action, while the government, on its part, subjected members to hunger and starvation through the payment of prorated salaries for October 2022.
Our position remains that the IPPIS is a cesspool of corruption and it undermines the university autonomy. 5. The federal government has clearly demonstrated its lack of commitment and insincerity towards funding education as our union consistently struggled for. Thus, it is evident that federal government is the one undermining all efforts by the union to guarantee Nigerians a qualitative and affordable university education.
The fate of students of public Nigerian universities continues to hang in the balance, as actions like this one by the lecturers, as well as lack of commitment from the federal government to pay the 7 month salaries for the period the lecturers were on strike, continue to negatively impact public education in the country. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
Now to security matters, where the newly appointed Commissioner of Police in Bauchi State, Aminu Hassan, has emphasized the need for collaborative efforts to stem the tide of criminal activities, particularly with the ongoing political campaigns for the 2023 general elections. He stated this shortly after his assumption of office at the command headquarters in Bauchi. Trust TV's Adamu Imam completes the story.
The new Commissioner of Police, Aminu Al-Hassan, while briefing journalists shortly after he was received by the command's management team, said it was imperative for all stakeholders to work together to deal with security issues.
And we dissuade all the people to stop doing it. Because once you make the politicians realize that actually this thing will not take place, those people who are doing it will not on their own come and do it. Because they are doing it because they have been paid. So go into a serious meeting with the politicians, the stakeholders, even the people, because I know that the so-called hunters, they have their own leaders who you contact. We will bring them into our dialogue. We will dialogue with them, and the person who does not really agree, we want them to give up, and they take any back.
He also urged journalists to also ensure that they present facts in their stories to ensure that the public is not misled.
We take press as partners, and it's an open policy we shall make. And the only thing we want is nobody is infallible. I don't want an issue where maybe a minor mistake will be magnified because of one reason or another. Let us take things on merit. And as far as our relation will be, you will not regret working with me.
CP Al-Hassan warned politicians in the state to desist from using youth to disrupt public peace and stability for selfish interest, saying they will not hesitate to clamp down on anyone aiding and abetting crime in the state, no matter how highly placed.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Navy has arraigned crude carrier MT Heroic Idum and its crew members at the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt on 3-count charges bordering on unlawful entrance into Akpo oil field, raising false piracy alarm to avoid arrest, and an attempt to lift crude oil without clearance. The arraignment followed a dogged operation by the Nigerian Navy, which saw the runaway vessel with a capacity of 3 million litres brought back alongside the crew from Equatorial Guinea. The report.
When the case was called, the prosecuting counsel, Assistant Chief State Counsel Abidemi Adewumi Aloko, said it was not possible to produce all 426 defendants in court on the same day and asked that 16 of them who were present take their plea while the remaining 10 appear on a separate day. Similarly, the counsel to the defendant, Udoka Ezobi, pleaded that they be allowed access to medical needs and their lawyers. 16 out of the 26 crew members who were present in court pleaded not guilty to the charges. Earlier, while speaking with newsmen, captain of the vessel, Danuj Mehta, denied that they were in the oil field to steal oil. Mehta, who is an Indian, claimed that there was a mix-up in the documentation.
We came to Nigeria on 8th of August. We had a misunderstanding with the terminal. The documents which were supposed to be filed by the ship's agents, so there was some misunderstanding relating to the documents. And in the night we had an incident with a vessel which at that point of time we did not know is the Nigerian Navy. And as I was guided by my higher authorities and my owners and company, we managed to take all actions as was advised by them. And on 12th of August we were arrested by Equatorial Guinea Navy ship Captain David and taken to Equatorial Guinea. We arrived Equatorial Guinea on 14th of August, and since then we've been in Equatorial Guinea, and then we were handed over to Nigeria. So that's our side of the story. We are innocent, and we have always been innocent. Myself and the ship's crew, we've just been following orders which were provided to us.
The presiding judge, Justice Turaki Mohammed, after listening to the counsels, ruled that the defendants be remanded in the vessel and adjourned for the rest to appear in court.
Still with us on Trust TV News Update. Still ahead, we'll take a look at the issue of stop and search in the FCT. This and more after the break. Do stay with us.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's recap our top stories. Tight security presence as APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu flags off presidential campaign rally in Plateau State. And properties worth a fortune destroyed at Kantunkwari Market in Kano. And moving on to other news now. World population hits 8 billion mark on Tuesday, November 15th, and the number jumped from 7 billion in the last 11 years. Against this background, experts want adequate sensitization of citizens, increased infrastructure funding and human capital development to cope with population rise. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports that the respondents also want urgent steps to mitigate the impact of the population upsurge against the backdrop of Nigeria's prediction of becoming the third most populous nation by 2050. The report.
Global population on Tuesday hits 8 billion marks, progressively growing from 1 billion in 1804 to 3 billion in 1960 and now hitting 8 billion in 2022. China is said to be maintaining its lead as the most populous nation with about 1.5 billion people, followed by India, which has 1.4 billion, and United States currently a distant third.
These projections, have been there for years. And even now, from now to 2050, it's also a long time that people policymakers, need to come up with things that will help us, tackle it, address it, and most importantly, to have what it takes, to take care of that population.
Nigeria's population currently stands at approximately 220 million, with a projection of 450 million by 2050 to overtake the U.S., thereby becoming the third most populous nation. How prepared is the Nigerian authorities to respond to this situation?
And that's where education is very important. Education not just at the university level, but vocational education. People, every opportunity where people need to acquire skills, acquire knowledge that will help them solve the problems in their societies must be encouraged.
Because the truth is, corruption is really, really crippling us as a people. It is not helping us grow in any way. You would notice that things that are supposed to be used, or monies that are supposed to be used for infrastructure, is buried somewhere. It's in the hands of some individual.
With low literacy level, about 20 million out-of-school children, huge infrastructure deficit as a result of bad governance. Experts say managing the population surge is imperative for a robust and developing economy.
When you have a leadership that is corrupt, a leadership that is incompetent, that will be a problem. So for us to address that, we must vote the right people into leadership positions at all levels.
If we're able to do it sustainably, we're able to industrialize sustainably. Even with the overpopulation or with the population growth, we're going to be able to curtail it, we're going to be able to control it.
As Nigerians head to the poll next year, stakeholders stress the need to frame policy debate around such critical areas to facilitate an effective leadership recruitment process. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, the issue of stop and search has over the years remained controversial as questions about what a search warrant is, the eligibility of police officers to search a citizen without a warrant, as well as whether or not a citizen can refuse to be searched by a police officer. However, with insecurity on the rise in the country, many are becoming a bit more accommodating to the idea of stop and search as a safety measure. In this report, Noel Sampson seeks to clarify the issue and underscores the need for all to be open to it as a necessary security measure, especially as Christmas approaches. The report.
A security warrant is a court order that a magistrate or judge issues to authorize law enforcement officers to conduct a search of a person, location, or vehicle for evidence of a crime and to confiscate any evidence they find. Outside criminal cases, securing a warrant for searching a vehicle while in transit may not be possible, as law enforcement agents may be acting on a tip-off or carrying out routine checks as a safety tip. This has over time led to confrontations between officers and civilians. But this notwithstanding, many believe there must be a balance.
When the police officer feels a crime has been committed, so at that point, you either obtain a search warrant or to search the premises where a police officer feel there is a commission of a crime in that premises or area or within the vicinity. So at that moment you obtain a search warrant. But there are other crimes that a police officer doesn't need a search warrant to make an arrest. A citizen cannot refuse to be searched by a police officer. But the law says that a male should search a male, and a male police officer cannot search a female suspect, except a female police officer can search a female suspect.
As Christmas approaches, citizens have been advised to be vigilant and not to post their locations on social media for security reasons.
I know a lot of people will be traveling, so you avoid speed driving, overloading your vehicles, and most especially we are advising members of the public to desist from posting their location and whereabouts on social media.
The police in the FCT have meanwhile urged residents to cooperate with security personnel by giving out reliable information that could lead to arrest of any security breach or act of criminality. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, properties worth millions of naira have been destroyed following a fire outbreak at the popular Singa market in Kano. Although no life was lost, but many eyewitnesses say an electrical spark may have been the cause of the inferno. Firefighters and Good Samaritans successfully put out the raging fire.
We saw an electric spark. It looks like electrical problem. It's continue booming. It's continue going up. Later on, we decided to call the fire service. But before the fire service arrives, the fire has overwhelmed the place and it has destroyed virtually everything that is inside this place. But for now, as you can see, the fire service were able to put off the fire. I saw smoke when I was about to eat my breakfast. Then we saw fire going up. We decided to leave where we are to relocate to another place. But instead, the fire keeps on expanding. It keeps on expanding. And later, we decided to call the fire service. But even before the fire service arrives, the fire has destroyed the place.
Now for a look at the foreign scene, where 5 Congolese refugees have been isolated at Nyakabande refugee transit camp in Kisoro district after testing positive for COVID-19. The Assistant District Health Officer, Mrs. Annette Dusabe, said although the patients are not very sick, they have been isolated to avoid transmitting the disease to others. She advised the health workers, staff from different humanitarian organizations operating at the transit camp and the general population in the district to observe standard operating procedures to avoid contracting the disease. The Deputy Resident District Commissioner, Robert Tukamuhebwa, said since March, when Congolese refugees started crossing into the district following the escalation of the M23 conflict, they have tested 47,993 and found 677 with the virus. Meanwhile, a state of emergency has been declared in the central Darfur state of Sudan 1 month following the tribal war that claimed the lives of over 24 civilians. According to Governor Saad Adam Babikar, who was quoted by Suna, Both sides of the conflict shot live bullets at the reconciliation panel that was trying to end the crisis. Last week, violence broke out between the Miseria and Aulad Rishad Arab tribes in areas close to Zalingi, the seat of central Darfur in western Sudan. And now to sports, where World Athletics has confirmed the date for the 9th Okpekpe International 10-kilometer road race. The organizer said the event will hold on the 27th of May 2023 in Okpekpe town near Auchi, Edo State. The race, the first road running event to be granted a label status by World Athletics in West Africa, according to World Athletics, will be one of the 40 gold label road running events to hold in 2023. According to the calendar released by the World Athletics, the gold label Okpekpe International 10-kilometer road race will be the only label road race to hold on May 27th. The first gold label road race in Africa and the continent's first world full marathon major is the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon in South Africa. And that wraps our Trans TV News update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.